Well, welcome to our webinar. Here's what we're going to cover today. My name is David McElroy with Income Alternatives, and we're going to go over strategies for success. The leading causes for business failure. We're going to talk about accessing success thinking, unlocking your creativity in finding your ideal clients, and then generating lots of leads. I've been in business for over 30 years. I have done every type of marketing imaginable, and I have learned a lot of things over the years on how to build a successful company, how to enjoy yourself while you're doing it, and how to make lots of money. And I'm going to share that with you today. There's going to be nothing for sale today, so you can put your wallets away. It's just a lot of great content, and I always love sharing this with other people. Mentoring and training is one of my favorite things in life. So let's find out about how you can make more money in less time while having a lot more fun. Let's talk about taking your business to the next level of success. Here's a startling figure for you. Bloomberg reports, the famous business service, that 80% of all new businesses will fail within 18 months. Man, that's frustrating. Imagine the amount of work it takes to get your great idea up and started, to take it to market, to start advertising, and then to be out of business in 18 months. What a heartbreak. Here's something else that's startling. Statistics further show that over the course of a 10-year period, just one decade, that 96% of all companies will be out of business. So there's just a small chance of success, but you can put that small percentage in your favor if you understand what causes companies to go out of business, take control of your business and your life, start making decisions today so that you'll be in that successful group. So what are the leading causes of business failure? A lack of market research, no unique selling proposition, muddy messages, weak leadership, and lack of capital and planning. So not in tune with the market. No matter what the size of a company, it requires market research to understand if there's a consumer for your product, what price they're willing to pay, who your competition is, and whether or not it would even make sense for you to bring this product out at all. So this isn't just a problem for small businesses, but the big boys make mistakes too. Smith & Wesson, the famous firearms company, produces mountain bikes that you might have seen law enforcement, police officers riding around in the summertime, and assumed that because police officers bought their bike, that the general consumer would do so as well. So they took that bike to market and it fell right on his face, failed miserably. So Smith & Wesson, of course, could appeal to police officers. They buy lots of weapons to protect us, and it was a natural for them to offer them the mountain bikes. But people thinking of guns and gunpowder and bullets don't think of mountain bikes in the general population, and that program failed miserably. They lost a lot of money. How about Cosmopolitan magazine? Of course, it's got beautiful women in it, lots of provocative stories, and you would think that beautiful women would be concerned about their diet and they'd eat lots of yogurt. Well, Cosmopolitan came out with a yogurt brand, and that yogurt brand failed miserably. Never got off the ground. You probably have never even heard of Cosmopolitan yogurt. So here's a big company. Certainly magazine companies should be up to date with research, but they missed the mark entirely and that product failed. How about Lifesavers? You know those little candies, man? I've been eating those since I was a little kid. I remember eating them in church, passing the time, waiting for the service to be over when I was a very young boy. So you would think they're into sweets and they're into treats. So you think that soda, that soft drinks would be a natural for them. Well, they tried to bring out a line of soft drinks, and it just didn't translate. People didn't think in terms of buying a soda from the Lifesaver brand. So that failed miserably. How about Coors? Coors Beer. They tried to come out with a Coors Rocky Mountain Spring Water. And I can remember back years ago, I lived in Minnesota, and I was on the road with a band. And at that time, Coors Beer was only distributed in, I think, Colorado and a few surrounding states, so you couldn't even get it back in Minnesota where I grew up. And we bought cases and cases of it and brought it back to Minnesota when we were there on a road trip. Well, you would think Coors, their big ad campaign has to do with the water and the mountain water, that it would be natural for them to do a Rocky Mountain Spring Water, but it failed miserably. People didn't think of buying a health water product from a beer brand or a beer manufacturer, so it fell on its nose. How about Colgate, the toothpaste people? Geez, this was an easy one for me. When I thought of Colgate, I didn't really think of kitchen items and kitchen appliances or food. I thought of toothpaste, and I couldn't make that connection. So why they couldn't? Boy, I don't know. But we, as independent business people, want to learn from these lessons. We want to do our market research. And when we take a product to market, we want to understand that we have a market, what that niche is, what they relate to, and be able to speak in their language. Okay, unique selling proposition. A unique selling proposition is a message of how we stand out. We want to be noticed like this red one right here in the middle. We don't want to be lost like the green ones in the crowd. So how do you stand out? What is unique and unusual about you? How are you going to communicate that to your niche market so that they will see that you've raised your hand and notice you, and you can engage them in a relationship, build a business with that relationship, and make some money? So are you worth it? Are you just another Me Too? Are you a commodity? Are you just a brand that's being lost in the muddle, just competing on price to be the cheapest? Are you just a Costco? I can tell you from all my years in business, if you're competing on cheapness and you're giving up your margin, assuming you even stay in business, that means you need to do a huge volume. The larger your volume, the more complex the delivery mechanism, the bigger the potential heartache and the harder it is to manage your company. You're much better off being a boutique top-tier provider as a small business person, charging the absolute top of the market for what you deliver, and then seeking out specific clients with your unique selling proposition that you can help understand that they are a match for you and you for them. Give you a perfect example. One of the mentors that I have trained with had an extremely successful information product business. As a matter of fact, I consulted with him and his staff, probably a couple of years ago, and I was looking at going into that business. And they were going hot and heavy. They were making a couple $1 million a year. Well, since that time, he has transitioned completely out of having 1,000 different clients and more than 1,000 affiliates representing his product, and he has streamlined and simplified and gone to a top-tier product for ideal clients, and as a result of that is running a very profitable business, well on its way to millions of dollars of income with a small fraction of the staff and overhead you used to have, much fewer moving parts, and a lot higher quality of life. So let's look at some outstanding unique selling propositions. Tom's shoes. Very unique. My ex-wife loves them, swears by them. She's got a closet full of them. What's their unique angle? Well, they give away a pair to a needy child for each pair sold. Pretty altruistic, pretty sweet. Certainly has got them a position in the marketplace and made them unique. How about the Mast Brothers chocolate? You probably haven't heard of them. They're a small company just getting going, but they're having good early success. They make each bar by hand, just like it was done in the 1800s. As a matter of fact, I was doing some research on them, and they're wearing outfits from the 1800s, like the covered wagon days. And they speak of craftsmanship going back to when that mattered, when everything had the personal touch. Matter of fact, they've got wooden boats. And when they go around the world to get materials and supplies for their chocolate and cocoa, they take those boats to give that ambient feeling of the old days, quality merchandise done by individuals. Great branding. You'll probably see more for them in the future. Far beyond the stars. You know, we live in a world today that's increasingly hectic. Stresses are astronomical. Time is a premium, and most of us have less time than we want and are stressed out most of the time. So their unique proposition is 50 strategies for working less. They've carved out a nice niche in that market, going back to a simpler time, and certainly are growing. I think they have like 5,000 subscribers in the short time they've been in business with that message. Outspoken Media, their message, unique, is 100% female and proud of it. So it makes that strong statement, I am woman and I am strong. I think that's the old Helen Reddy song. I probably am dating myself for you younger people that are on the line. But 100% female and proud of it. Great, unique proposition. And then last on our list today is Kiva, microloans online. They've done over $100 million of loans to small entrepreneurs since 2005. Great, unique selling proposition. All of these are perfect examples of how a company can position itself against its competition, stand out, and be noticed, and also appeal to a niche audience that respects, loves, and resonates with them for what their message is. Now we have a clarity of message. Okay, let's talk about clarity of message. If you can't get your message understood, if you can't get your ad campaigns noticed, if you can't get consumers to engage, click through your ad, take a response or a call to action to go to your squeezing or landing page where you gather their email address so that you can follow up with them, build a relationship, and do business, you're out of luck. So even if you have a great product, you've done the research, you understand there's a need for it, you understand who your target market is, but you aren't able to get out a clear, sharp, succinct message, you're out of luck. So they used to believe that the average human being could hold in their attention plus or minus 5 to 7 detailed pieces of information. Well, more recent information or research shows us that that's really more like 2 or 3. I don't know what caused that. Maybe we have so much demand on our attention that it's just kind of shut us down and we protect ourselves from the intake of information. But nonetheless, easy to get lost in the crowd, to have your ad never get read. So if you want to rise above the din, be noticed so you're not white noise, you have to have a succinct message that gets noticed, and that message has to speak to the hearts and the souls of the right niche market that you are pursuing. So can you hear me? Okay, attention-getting headlines. Here's a sample of a half a dozen headlines that you can fill in the blanks and change them around a little bit and use for attention getting with your customer base. So who else wants whatever? Who else wants to lose 50 pounds? Who else wants to pay no taxes? Who else wants to double their income in 90 days, whatever it would be? How about the secret of losing body fat, the secret of being your ideal weight, the secret of making lots of money with ease? Here is a method helping lots of people to have a higher quality of life, make more money in less time. How about the little known ways to, you fill in the blank, whatever you think would go in. The little known ways to learn a foreign language in half the time. How about get rid of stress for once and all? Little known method of how to reduce stress, have more free time, make lots of money. One of my messages could easily go in there. How can you have, obvious one, have your cake and eat it too? Of course, that doesn't mean anything specifically. So how can you have, what would we put in there? How can you have more time and sleep better and make more money? I'm just making these up as I go. So they're not necessarily good messages, but good outlines for you to go by and use as examples. Now, the next in the reasons that causes businesses to fail in that first 18 months or 10 years is lack of a business plan. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to sit down and write out a long, drawn-out, detailed Harvard-style business plan or hire a CPA to do it. Most small businesses don't need that. But you need to have some core understandings in place, or you will run yourself out of business before you get off the ground. And one of those key things is cash flow. You need to understand very specifically the minimum required overhead to operate daily, the cost of your marketing, when those marketing dollars have to be spent. You might have a net 30, you might have to pay them in advance, depends on your situation. And the length of time it takes from the time you generate a lead, bring it into your sales funnel, go through the sales process, and you also have to understand all the statistics that go in there. So if you put your offer in front of 100,000 people, maybe 1% of them are going to notice that offer and they're going to click through. So you've got that subset of 1,000 people that click through. And out of that 1,000 people, a smaller percentage are actually going to give you their email address once they see your email gathering page, your landing page. And once they click through that and you have an offer on the other end, a smaller percentage are going to take advantage of that offer. And then those that do take advantage of the offer, maybe it's a webinar, only a percentage of those are going to show up. And of those that show up, a smaller percentage are going to do that next step. And out the other end comes a sale. But you can see that if you don't understand the numbers, you can't understand where your marketing is failing, nor can you predict if you spend X, then Y is going to come out the other end, and the period of time it takes to convert a buyer, a potential buyer, into dollars. Then you have to understand your margin. You know, a lot of small businesses, or businesses in general, selling $40, $50, $60, $100 products, they don't have a lot of profit in those products. And with the cost of marketing and running a business today, it is quite probable that you could make a sale to a customer and you actually lose money to put that customer on the book. So the real profit in that customer is only on the back end. So you got to have some cash to carry you where you're building equity in your customer and your brand so that you can, out the back end, have an opportunity to get those additional upsales and make your profit. But if you don't know that, you can end up actually having a profitable business, run out of cash, and be out of business. And it's very important to control your overhead. Keep it as low as possible without inhibiting your ability to do business. So to keep your overhead, I found in the years that I've had businesses, you start out lean and mean, just you and maybe a partner, maybe a small staff. And then over time, you accumulate overhead kind of like that rock rolling down the side of a hill, or a snowball rolling down a hill, gathering as it rolls more and more things sticking to it until your overhead, $50, $100, $200,000 at a time, gets out of control. And then suddenly you have a contraction or a bump in business. And during that contraction period, you can't pull back in your overhead fast enough. It eats up your cash and it puts you out of business. Now, here's a big one. It's leadership. You can only bring your company to a level of success equal to your personal growth. So if you are not personally evolved to the point where you have empathy, where you can understand how other people think and feel, where you're always stressed out, where you're always angry, where you're always blowing up at people, well, then you're going to drive customers away. You're going to drive your staff away. And it takes an incredible amount of time to train somebody in your company. When you lose somebody, there's some formulas that show you lose 4 or 5 times their salary by the time you hire them, hire someone back, get them trained in, and get them up to productivity. So leadership's important, and to be a leader, you have to be into personal growth. Leaders are readers. Historically, people that have done incredible things, that have led companies and corporations and countries over history, have always been studying, evolving, and learning. They hire coaches and mentors. They are focused on what it takes to move themselves forward, to expand their horizons. So the number one inhibitor after everything else is in place for you going to the next level is you not being at a level of personal growth where you can lead your company. So let's talk about driving exceptional results. It's important to review where you are and understand where you'd like to go so that you can determine the adjustments that are necessary for you to move forward. I recommend reviewing at the end of each day. You don't have to take a long time to do it, but look at the goals that you wrote down to accomplish during the day, your list. Look at what of those you got done. Decide what ate up your time and what you would like to do to adjust the next day to get back on top of that. It's very important that you have passion, purpose, and meaning in what you're doing. You can force yourself through sheer discipline to do almost anything that you don't like for a period of time. But if the entire function of your life is to force yourself to do things for which you have no passion, purpose, or meaning, you're going to burn out, you're going to take it out on others, and ultimately it's going to cause your demise. Over a 10-year period of time, I built a very successful mortgage business from 85 to 95, and I didn't have a passion and purpose in place that was deeply aligned with me and what was the meaning of my life. I probably didn't even understand what the meaning of my life was other than to make lots of money. And I can remember after giving up friendships and a personal life and playing guitar, which I used to do for a living, just stopped playing altogether and dedicated to the business. When I finally got to the point where I had made $1 million, I remember looking out the window of my office toward downtown Dallas. I live in the Dallas and Fort Worth area, and saying, this is it. This is it. I sacrificed all this for this. So what I want to tell you is not that $1 million isn't a fair amount of money. Certainly back then it was more than it is now. But that if you aren't aligned with your purpose, if you aren't passionate about what you do, if you don't enjoy the process, I'm not talking about walking around like you have a frontal lobotomy, just giggling and smiling all the time, but passion and purpose and meaning will carry you through long term. And once you accomplish your goals and you hit that peak level, it won't all slip away from you because it's a goal in itself. It ended and there's no life for you after that. So are you having fun? Are you enjoying what you're doing? If you're not, let's take a look at it. Let's think about what's wrong, and let's put some things into action. Now, one of the things that prevents people from putting things into action, that prevents people from taking the next step and transforming their life, is belief. So, failing your way to success. You have a rational mind and an emotional mind. People make decisions emotionally and then they justify them rationally. So it's imperative that we connect with others emotionally and then help them justify it with their rational mind. An excellent marketing campaign touches people in the heart and then gives them rational reasons why your product or service makes sense to support that emotional feeling. So it's the same with you as an individual. You can rationally determine anything that you think you should do, but ultimately, if it's not in line with your emotions, you will sabotage yourself, knock yourself out of action, exhaust yourself, and not end up developing the business you should. So what prevents people from moving forward at this point? It's fear of failure, I guess. It's comfort with what you're doing and uncertainty about what you might change to. The way you get over that is by maximum iterations. That means by trying lots of things in a short amount of time, measuring the results, changing slightly little by little until you're moving in a direction that gets you the result that you're looking for. There's no behavior you have that you're intentionally doing to sabotage yourself. All behaviors have an intention of serving you. It's just that over time, the world changes and what you're used to do doesn't work anymore, but we're so used to doing it, we continue to do it. I had a dog years ago, and he was old and getting kind of doddering, and we moved his water from where it used to be over to the other side of the room. And for months and months afterwards, every time he was thirsty, he'd go stand to where the water used to be and just stare at it as if it were going to appear there. But the water had moved, and he needed to move to where the water was if he wanted a drink. So discovery and growth are imperative. You've got to try new things. You've got to experiment. Now, a lot of people say that they aren't creative. But in reality, we're all creative. We are born creative. It's the nature of who we are as people. And we can regain that creative confidence. And creativity has everything to do with success because it allows us to try different things, experiment, and learn about them. There's a book that's been released not too long ago by Tom and David Kelly. It's called Creative Confidence. And in there, he goes into great detail explaining how engineers, who are, of course, disciplined to be hyper-analytical, which you would think to be the antithesis of creativity, come into his design school, which is, I think, D Design is what the name of the school is. He owns EDO. EDO did a lot of the design work for Apple computers and helped contributed to Apple's huge success. But he talks about how engineers got together in groups and had tasks that were set before them with limited time frames, and how this one pair of students came into his course, and their task was a 10-week period to develop a product, get it financed, and bring it to market. And because of the constraints of time, because you need to have deadlines to move yourself forward with a sense of urgency, they developed an application for the iPad when the iPad was first being released, for reading news. It was a news reader. And they officed in a coffee shop, and so their method of developing the app was to work on it a little bit and then take it around to people in the coffee shop to try it, get feedback from them, and adjust it. So it sounds like a simple project that you would say, well, okay, well, that's cool, it's a school deal, but here's what happened. The project they developed in 10 weeks under the creative guidelines of the program that they were in was ultimately purchased by LinkedIn for $10 million. $10 million. So it's amazing what you can do when you free your creativity. Anybody can encourage and grow their creativity. Many of us lost track of it when we were young because somebody criticized us. We felt bad. We decided we weren't, and then it was trained out of us in school. But we all have creativity. The EDO Design School, D-Design, certainly has proved that people with all different disciplines can work together and be creative, and so can you. I recommend that book highly. So what makes a life work? What makes a business work? I used to believe that you just worked till the job was done, you worked till you dropped, and I tried to get everyone else to do that. But the key to enduring success is not pounding till you collapse. It's to pace yourself, to balance yourself, to have rest. And that's what delivers maximum results. Back in the years when I was a professional guitar player, I was obsessed with playing excellent, complicated passages. And I used to practice passages for hours and hours and hours. And I would never take a break because I didn't want to let up when I could just push and get the job done. Well, sometimes I would get so frustrated, I would kick my amp over and just almost burst into tears out of frustration. Well, I know now that that's no way to learn complicated things. That the smart thing to do is to do distributed practice rather than mass practice. Complicated things, and I think you'd agree that running a business is a complicated matter, requires distributed practice. That means you need lots of breaks, keeps you fresh, keeps your mind focused, and then you come back and rehearse and practice and build your business again. So it doesn't have to be painful. Yes, it can be challenging. Yes, you can get tired sometime, but when you're doing it the right way, you're excited, you're jazzed, you're drawing enough of other people, you're working together, your clients are happy, you're happy, and together you can accomplish some amazing things if you keep balance. So take little simple steps. The impossible, like our picture up here, impossible becomes possible with goal setting, and goal setting needs to be both long-term and short-term. You need measured milestones along the way, and you need to stay focused on both short and long-term goals. I've got a very close friend. He and I ran a phone room together, let's see, probably in the 90s. And we had people on the telephone, and we were dialing machines. We dialed like absolute machines. We dialed 3 or 4 hours a day, each one of us. We did 100 dials. We spoke to about 30 people, booked 3 to 5 to an appointment. We brought anywhere from between maybe a third to half of who we booked to an appointment. We showed them a business presentation of what we were selling. And over the course of 4 years, that small group of us brought through his house 20,000 people, pretty close to it, that we showed this business to. And we just never could quite get that business to click because he and I were both focused on doing tedious tasks, trying to get other people to do them so we could have this long-term goal of making millions of dollars. And what happened is after 4 years of that, 5 years of that, I finally burned out. And I went back to mortgage banking, got a huge contract with one of the majors, and it seemed like easy street to me. Well, he refined what he was doing. He reset his goals. He started doing vision practice in the morning and at night, writing down his goals. He started connecting with people, and he went on to set records. He brought into his business about 30,000 customers in one 12-month period of time. In 30 years, no one in his company had done that. No one has done it since then. And he did it by having the right system in place, by sifting through and connecting with leaders, and then developing those leaders so that they could have success together. You can do amazing things when you're on task and you're focused. Let's talk a little bit about belief. You know who this guy is that's laughing in the middle? That's Albert Einstein. We all know the E equals MC squared. He's a genius, transformed the way that we think about physics. Not everyone knows this, that his teachers thought he was an idiot. They talked to his parents about getting him off into a trade school because he was never going to be able to master anything that required intellectual concentration. He ended up learning how to play violin, and the creative process of playing violin freed his intellect, and of course the rest is history. Here's another one, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, arguably by many, stated to be the best basketball player that ever lived. Not everyone knows that they were going to cut him from the team when he was a young boy because he was not capable and didn't have talent. Interesting thing about that story is a mentor saw in him raw talent, took him under their wing, and then he did the work led by a mentor that transformed him and allowed him to go down the path where he turned into the star that we know of today. Here's a little something about me personally. When I was a young boy, about 9 years old, I decided I wanted to play music. And in my school, they had a big giant double bass, the kind that stands up on the floor that you see in the 1950s, people playing in bands. Well, you could play the double bass without having to pay for it because nobody wanted to play it. And I thought, ooh, my family didn't have money, so I would play that. So I got the bass and I started practicing. I took it home in the summers and I stuck with it. Little did I know that the school counselor had told my mom that they had tested me and that I was tone deaf and had no rhythm whatsoever, that it would be impossible for me to ever learn how to play an instrument, and I might as well just forget it. Well, my mom didn't tell me that. So I went on to get straight A's in orchestra through high school, graduated from high school, transitioned to guitar, and played guitar for a living for 10 years because I didn't know that I didn't have any talent. So it's amazing what can happen with your belief. I'll tell you a little interesting tidbit here. About halfway through my career as a professional musician, my mom shared with me what the counselor had said. I think she was trying to, toot my horn that they were wrong and I was right. What happened, interestingly enough, after that is it actually affected my playing. For a period of time after I heard that, I had a harder time playing professionally. I doubted myself and it confused me. So beliefs have everything to do with what you get out of life, what you believe you can get, and what you actually end up with. Here's something interesting. Is it real or is it imagined? We've all heard of David Copperfield and his magic. And I think those of us that see magic don't believe that it's magical, although we use that word. We don't believe they have mystical powers, but that it's actually an illusion. So down below here, you see a picture of his airplane. And the airplane is in a box, and it's surrounded by people here with their hands held together with a blindfold on. And then this is the front of the box. And in this illusion, he tipped up the front of the box, turned on a light, and then dropped the box down, and the plane was gone with the people standing there. So did he really make the plane disappear, or was it just an illusion? So the question that I ask you is, what's the difference between what's real or what's imagined? I mean, was I a talented musician or wasn't I? Was Einstein a genius or wasn't he? Was Michael Jordan a brilliant basketball player or wasn't he? Reality and our imagination, they kind of work together, don't they? So ask yourself this question. What's missing in your business? If you're not getting what you want now, it's like a puzzle. So rather than just being frustrated, let's take a look at that puzzle. Let's see what pieces are missing or what pieces don't fit. And let's see what we can do to actually turn your business around, and do that by looking at what your hardest challenges are. Where you spend most of your time, what you like doing, what you don't like doing. There's a whole analysis that goes behind this to help you transform your business and make it something that it's spectacular. So what's holding you back? Are you hitting the ceiling? You've heard of the glass ceiling before. Here's a picture of a woman standing on the desk trying to get through the glass ceiling. But you can hit a ceiling in your business where it seems like no matter what you do, you just can't get ahead. You're working all the hours you possibly can, maybe too many hours. You might be starting to feel burned out. You're getting short with people. You just don't feel it anymore. You're not passionate. You feel trapped. You're always tired. You're bored and usually frustrated. These are all signs that something's wrong. These are presenting problems. This isn't the root of the cause. This is the presenting problem. This year, I had the unfortunate issue of getting shingles. I don't know if any of you have ever had those before, but they're really uncomfortable. And I noticed it because I had some blisters on the side of my on my side, and they were uncomfortable, and I was getting headaches, and they started to spread. So the presenting problem was blisters. I went into the doctor, and the doctor did some tests and found out I had shingles. And so the presenting problem was the inflammation of the nerves. But the root of the problem, those of you that have read about shingles know that if you've had chickenpox, you've got the shingles virus in your system. But not everyone gets shingles. I was going through a period of time where I was highly stressed out. I wasn't sleeping well. And the shingles will come out when you have a compromised immune system. So my presenting problem was the blisters, the inflammation of the nerve, the shingles, but the underlying problem was stress. And it's because I wasn't managing my life and my business right. I wasn't planning. I wasn't doing visualizations. I wasn't examining the end of each day to plan for the next day. It's little things like that that don't seem to matter that you let slip away one at a time until eventually your entire life is out of control. Your business ends up folding. You end up with a divorce. You end up sick. All those things happen, but they don't happen overnight. They happen because you're not paying attention to the little things that you could have corrected that made the difference, make a big difference. So let's talk about the power of no. You have to get control of your time. So take a look at what drains you. Things that drain you are not things you should be spending your time on. You should hire them for someone else, or some of it you just need to let go. What do you enjoy? What energizes you? When you're working on what you enjoy rather than what drains you, that allows you to go long term. If you feel resentments, if there's things that you avoid, things that demand incredible amounts of your time for which you get a low return, you got to change things. As a matter of fact, if you look at your business, the 80-20 rule is in play. You'll notice if you pay attention that you get 80% of your business from 20% of your clients. Yet you're spending 80% of your time on 20% of your income. It doesn't make sense. If you had an investment portfolio with those numbers, what would you do? What would you do? You would get rid of the 20%, 80% that were not paying you the way that you needed, and you would move forward, right? So what you should do in that example is look for ideal clients. We're going to talk about that in a minute, and get rid of the ones that aren't ideal. How do you end up with unideal clients? Well, if you're like me, when I first got into mortgage banking, I got up 6 o'clock in the morning and went out to the field, and I went door to door from real estate office to real estate office, barging through the front desk, handing out flyers and meeting people. And I did that for 6 weeks. And when I finally started getting leads, I took anything that I could get because I had no business. I figured, take everything that you can get and then you can upgrade later. Well, what happened as a result of that strategy is there never was a time to upgrade later because I was swamped with low quality deals. So the first deals that you're going to get, the first leads that you're going to get, the low hanging fruit is often the lower quality that the higher quality providers are not interested in. And you can get so mired down in that low quality that it literally steals your life and ends up giving you a business you don't want and prevents you from moving forward. So you have to examine the anatomy of your business. You have to look where you're spending your time. You have to notice what's draining you, what jazzes you, and you have to adjust one item at a time, your business and your life, so that you're able to move forward. When we talk about the power of saying no, we're talking about time management. And it's so easy without thinking to tell someone that you'll do something instead of saying no. And what happens over the course of a day is you commit yourself to things that you really don't want to do. I have seen people committed to so many things they don't want to do that are inefficient, they can't get to the efficient things. There is a great teacher, he passed away this year, but Chet Holmes, who talked about time management, how to manage time. And he had signed up for a time management course. And in the opening of the course, they instructed him to take out a book and to write down everything that he did for a 2-week period of time so he could see where his time was going. Well, he thought, if this is a time management course and we're going to spend 2 weeks just to find out where we're wasting our time, he had no interest in it, so he left. Well, he came up with a very simple system that I use that works amazingly well, and that simple system is this. Write down the 6 things that have the highest priority that you need to get done. Write them down the night before. Then organize them in terms of what's most important. If there's anything that's challenging or the most difficult, do it first so you have it out of the way. Estimate the time you're going to dedicate to that task and write it down next to the task. And then get those things done during that day. The reason that's important is you're getting feedback that you can decide to do something and accomplish it. If you just have an endless running list that's never over, you're sending yourself a message that you're never going to be done. You need those victories along the way. You need to be able to say no. You need to schedule your time if you want to have a high quality life. So, what is your calling? What excites you? What do you do to recharge? You know, if you've been like I was back when I was first in the mortgage business, I got to the point where nothing excited me. Nothing excited me. I was frustrated all the time. I was angry all the time. I was short with people. And what I did to recharge myself? Nothing. I worked until from day to night, went home and went to sleep. Well, I got to tell you, that is not the formula for long-haul success. Here's a picture of David Kelly that I was talking about from EDO, who wrote the book with his brother, Tom, Creative Confidence. And he talks about masterminding and brainstorming and measuring little successes and expanding your network. You know, the power of mastermind is talked about by Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich, which is one of the standard stock readings for people that want to be successful. And in a mastermind, something unique takes place. The joining of more than one mind for a common cause. And what David recommends is that you have cross-disciplines so that you're bringing different perspectives, different ways of thinking to the table and working on problems with those different perspectives to help take them to a new level where each person comes up with an idea without criticism, someone else expands on that and then on that, and before you know it, over a period of time, you have an idea that didn't exist because of the single. For those of you that are readers of the Bible, it says when 2 or more of you are gathered together in my name, there I am. And for those of you that are not of that religious mind, you can think in terms of mastermind or being connected to the universe. When people join together, when people come together in fellowships and communities, there are amazing things that happen. In brainstorming, it's the ideas bouncing off one another that takes you someplace new. And you have to have little successes. Looking at only long-term goals is exhausting. And those long-term goals are wonderful, but you need to have the little milestones in order to feed you emotionally so that you can move on. Let's expand your network. Do you know that if you If you take the 5 people that you spend the majority of your time with and around, and you average their incomes, that's going to be about what your income's going to be. That's shocking information if you don't know that. So if you want your income to be higher, you need to increase the caliber of people that you're spending your time with. Does that mean that people that don't make enough money aren't good people? That's not what I'm saying. But relationships are evolutionary. They're evolving all the time. There's a famous poet that was interviewed by Oprah Winfrey on Super Soul Sunday. Great show. And I'm trying to remember what his name is. Cope, I think his name was Cope. And he was talking with Oprah about relationships, and his name was Mark Nepo. And he was talking about relationships were like cocoons. And as you transform and change, and you come out of your cocoon, sometimes that cocoon now need be left behind. It doesn't mean the cocoon didn't have value, but life is ever changing. We're always evolving. We're moving forward. Things happen. People that we love don't love us anymore, or people die, or businesses fail, or things that we can't control occur, and we have to, in that stress, we have to find opportunity. Every single problem, failure, heartache, trouble that I have come up to in my life, once I focused and asked myself, where is the opportunity? There are always the seeds for the next level of my development as I move forward. I'm grateful for the people and the experiences that I've had, and I'm grateful for what I've learned as I've moved on and continued to develop my life, and I recommend that you do the same. It's part of personal growth. So it doesn't have to be that hard. You know, I used to think that anything worth doing was worth suffering for, and you've heard there, no pain, no gain, and there's truth in that. But it doesn't mean that everything you do has to be painful. That's not what it means. Even a bodybuilder has to take breaks and renew themselves in order for their muscles to rebuild and come back. So we back to that 80-20 rule. You know, where do you spend 20% of your time and get 80% of your results? Or how about spending 80% of your time on 20% of your results? It's happening to all of you. And it's imperative that you slow down, examine what you're doing, and you be the crafter of the designer of your business in your life. Read something positive every day. Gosh, most people watch the news at night, which is about death and destruction and heartache and nothing but the bad side of life. And then they get up in the morning, the first thing they do is turn on the news and listen to nothing but death and destruction and the bad side of life. Well, is it amazing if you're listening about failing economies and failing businesses and people shooting each other, that you might not be in the most uplifted frame of mind? So I'm not suggesting that you be a Pollyanna. We're going to run into difficulties in life. It's just part of living, but we don't need to spend all our time focusing on them. So what I like to do is I like to write down things that I want to accomplish. I want to write down what I want to focus on. I like to read positive things. In the morning I get up and do go to a website and get a daily insight. I read books and I do the same thing, concentrate and meditate both in the morning when I wake up on the list I wrote the night before and before I go to sleep at night. And since I've been doing that, it's transformed how I feel about living. It's improved my hope and my understanding. It's made me more empathetic and more willing to see things from someone else's perspective, and that is imperative if you want to build a cooperative, strong organization and be successful in your business. Goal writing is imperative. If you remember the famous Harvard Business Study where they checked those people that were successful in life, and every single one of them was a writer of goals. And those that didn't write goals, smart people, equally as capable, just didn't accomplish great things in life. Goal writing, reviewing those goals first thing when you wake up, imperative. Okay, so if we have got the things in place that we need for our company to be successful, now it's time for us to find more ideal clients. So where do you find ideal clients? Where are they hanging out? What do they like? How do they think? This is us finding a good match. That's why I got that picture of that match there. So what do they seek? What's their language? And why should they be attracted to us? So, to make it big, you need traffic, lots of traffic. The whole idea that I talked about before is running an infinite number of possibilities or a large number of possibilities through your sales process, so out the other end comes people that you can talk to, have a relationship with, and do business with. You can do free social media marketing. I have done that. The problem with free social media marketing is it takes hours of your time. It's hard and slow to get started. It's hard to maintain, and it's extremely demanding. So you can do a little bit of it, but I recommend highly that paid marketing is the smart way to go. Put your time into other things and running your business rather than being distracted by this. You can spend hours and hours and weeks and months and not really get a return on your investment. So let's look at paid marketing. We have Google PPC, that's pay per click. Google, of course, AdWords have been around for a long time. I have a friend that was one of the very first people to adopt AdWords back in the day when it first came out, I think early 2000s. And as a result of that, she very cost effectively got 2 billion, with a B, billion hits to her website, which made her wealthy. And she's got a consulting company to this day that makes her a couple $100,000 a month because of the right place and the right time. Google is much more difficult to use these days. They're very finicky. You can get your account shut down very easily if you make a mistake in your landing page or violate their policies. Bing, easier than Google, but also more restrictive. Banner ads, those are ads that you see when you're at someone else's website. Banner ads can be useful, but it's difficult to target tightly to just specific visitors to that site, and so you can end up paying money for the customers or the visitors you don't want. Solo ads, that's an ad that you send out to someone else's list, someone that has gathered a list together. Very easy to get a bunch of clicks, pay for them, not have them be ideal leads for the ideal client for you. So solo ads can be used, but you need to be delivering them to the right list. You need to make sure it's a match for your product. There's a place for that, but maybe or maybe not a place for you. Direct mail. Man, I have done a lot of direct mail over the years. I have built companies from scratch on direct mail. I had a company, a loss mitigation company, for about 7 years, where we were helping people liquidate homes nationally where they owed $500,000 on a home that was worth $250,000, and we developed that whole business starting with direct mail. We mailed 10,000 pieces a month for about 18 months, and that became the baseline for a business that went on for 7 years. The problem with that is direct mail response rates have dropped precipitously, and unless you got some money to invest long term and wait for the income to come, you can spend a lot of money, and that's assuming you know what you're doing, and not get your business off the ground. I also have done a huge amount of television and radio. When I had my mortgage company from 85 to 95, I had my own television production company, radio production company. I did my own ads. I wrote the copy. I appeared in them and produced them. And we were spending back in the mid-90s, probably 92, 93, maybe early to mid-90s, we were spending about $50,000 a month on television and radio. And that was the company that I ultimately made my first $1 million with, and that campaign was one of the reasons for it. The challenge with that is that the market has become increasingly segmented with all the cable networks and online streaming and people first using TiVo and now using Hulu, and the market's gotten so fractionated that it's difficult to get your ad in front of the right people with enough impressions to get them to take action. And marketing research will show you the first impression often gets very low response rates, and it's not until an ad has been presented to people 6, 7, or 8 times that you get maximum response. Well, that's a lot of television and radio advertising. I have another real estate venture that I've been getting off the ground for the last year, and we looked at television and radio. but the cost has tripled or quadrupled, and the response and pull-through rate has been cut by more than half. So we couldn't make that economically viable. So we are using a direct mail campaign, which is working nicely for us because we picked a target market where the real estate values are 400,000 to $1 million. So it doesn't take a lot of pull-through in order for us to make that profitable for the real estate company. But we still planned putting in a year worth of work before we got a return on that investment, and that might not work for all of you. So let's look at paid social media marketing. Well, you could do it with Twitter. You can do it with Pinterest. Twitter already is available. Pinterest, they're just testing it with some of the big advertisers, commercial accounts. LinkedIn, already available, very targeted for business-minded people. And then the granddaddy, Facebook, that has 1.2 billion subscribers. It's the all-time widest subscribed site currently. And then there's many other smaller sites to choose from. We're going to focus today on Facebook paid marketing. And the type of paid marketing we're going to look at is promoted posts. So that's a post that is in the center of your news feed, or it can be over in the right column. You use the Power Editor. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. And newsfeed advertising is the way to go. So you can have a post that's from newsfeed ads. We're going to go into that a little bit. I recommend that you stick to desktop only rather than mobile. You can get, I think, 70-75% of access to Facebook is done on mobile, which is great, but you're not just looking for clicks. You're looking for clicks that convert into people taking action, that action turning into leads, and those leads turning into sales. And that's harder to get, at least at this time, unless you're optimized for mobile. That screen is just too small. So I recommend that you stick with desktop only. You do niche-specific targeting. The more specific that you can get with your targeting, the more successful your campaign is going to be. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. And what is really cool about Facebook is they just come out with social graph search, very granular. You can get down to marketing to people that like a particular type of fan page or a particular book, and we're going to talk about that. So targeted interest, Facebook social graph search. So you want to find out what your niche market likes. Start by going to your home page, and then up here, you're going to put in a search criteria. People who like Online Entrepreneur Mastermind Group. That's one of my ventures. And once you put that in, then you can go down here to the refined search and click for a drop-down book. And what you can see is people who like this Online Entrepreneur Mastermind Group also read these books. So what that means to me is that if I wanted to find more people to like Online Entrepreneur Mastermind in my marketing, I could market specifically to people that read these books and maybe get more fans to my page and more people in my database that are interested in what I have. Incidentally, I got these 4,000 plus likes in a very short amount of time. We'll talk about that in another webinar. I came from obscurity in a short time to 4,000. Other targeted search tools. Google search. Select a topic, do a search for it, and then copy the URL at the top ranked site. So I like to look at the top site that's below the paid ads. I'll show you something about that in a minute. And then I like to go to Alexa or SEMrush to get some statistics. So here's a sample. I did a search on Google for weight loss. Here's the paid ads, which is in the yellow. And I went down and checked the first result that wasn't paid, but is an organic search that came back for diet. And when I click on that right here, it gives me this web address, which I copied. And then I went over to Alexa, and I put that web address in here, right in this box. It's right at the top part of the page. And I did a search. And up comes this amazing data. This is not all of what's on the page, but some of the cool things I wanted to show you. So if I was offering a weight loss product, and I looked, and you can look at more than one page. We're just going to look at one for this example. And I see that the people coming to their site, searching for that, are mostly female. The green is, look it out, it's already out to the end, and less of male, red means less, that a majority of them have some college, and that they're doing their browsing from school. In addition to, which probably means they're in school, right? In addition to that, and they want to look good for the guys, I guess, at school. And if you look down here, 57%, 57.2% of the visitors are from the United States. Here's something I want you to remember. Most of you will have your greatest success in the United States. The United States has lots of money and is the moneyed market. A consultant that I take training from is in England, yet 90% of his business is out of the United States. It's because he sells a high-end product and the U.S. has lots of money. So these statistics tell you when you do a search what criteria you'd like to use for who you're presenting your ads to. So where do you start? Well, you don't have an ad, so how are you going to start adjusting various elements of an ad? Which comes first, the chicken or the egg? So you start by looking at ads in your news feed that appear in the center of the page, and there's also ads that will appear off to the right. The ones that appear in the center of the page, you can tell that it's a sponsored post because in the lower right-hand corner in small print, it'll say sponsored. That's how you know it's an ad. But it looks like a regular timeline post, and that's the cool thing, why this works so well if you target your audience properly. So I use a tool called Jing, and Jing allows me to copy images and save them, and I save these ads in a folder so I can look back to them. Now, look for the ads that last. The reason you want to look for the ads that last is the ones that don't last means their campaign failed and they either went out of business or they stopped advertising on Facebook. It's pretty common for people at the beginning not to get the results they're looking for and to pull away from Facebook. I encourage you not to do that. Start with other ads that others have used that have been on for a while that you see multiple times. Copy those winning ads. Use those ideas to start your own ad, and then test each element of the ad carefully till you get an ad that works, and then run with it. Testing, 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 testing is the key to it. Without testing, you're shooting in the dark, and testing is the key to success in any kind of advertising, certainly on Facebook. So test only one interest at a time. Now, that would mean, let's say you were going to test your ads against somebody, Tony Robbins fans, Anthony Robbins fans. And you ideally are going to want to end up having groups when you run your ads of 250 to 500,000. Those are groups that the ad is presented to, not necessarily responded to, because you want the law of large numbers. Only a small percentage of any particular niche market is going to take action at any given time, and you want those numbers to work in your favor. Unless you do cost per thousand, which I don't recommend, cost per impression, I recommend that you do cost per click. Showing it to a large audience is you aren't paying for that, you're only paying for the actions they take. So once a group is interested and you've tested it, you can combine groups. So you can combine more than one group. You can combine Tony Robbins with people that read Think and Grow Rich, with people that read other books. So you test only one ad placement at a time. So if you do decide you're going to do mobile, don't run an ad that's on mobile, desktop, right column, and center. Only run an ad that's on mobile alone, so you can test mobile and all other elements being the same. And then run that same ad in your desktop center feed only, and then run that same ad only in the right column. This is going to give you the measure of where the ad is most successful and where it's optimized to give you the best return on investment. Here's a copy of an ad that appeared over on the right side, over here, the smaller ads. Can you keep a secret? Pretty good headline, attention getting. This is a little bit blurry. It's just because I blew it up to put it on the screen here, but in actuality, it was a nice crisp picture. Got someone whispering in her ear and see her eyes popped open like that. And then they have their landing page address here. You can do that if you want to, but right here, if you click on this picture, that actually, so you can click on image for more information. You can put here, or you can put this page like they have. And boom, we are finally figured out how to get all the free traffic we want from, and you don't know, so you got to click on it. So raises curiosity. So this is a right side ad. Here's one that's right in the middle. It looks like a timeline post. Remember I said sponsored? See, this is the only way you know that it's a sponsored ad. But if you aren't looking close, it looks like just a normal ad. And if it's an attention getter, here's something with some charts and graphs, and it's about personal capital, how to manage, I guess, your, let's see all your accounts. I guess how to pull all your accounts together in one place and manage them. What cool is that you can get likes. So you can get likes as an incident to your advertising. I don't recommend paying to get likes. Likes are great to have, but I would take them as an incident to your campaigns to generate opportunity. This also gives a chance for people to see, how many likes and shares you have, which can help for ad credibility. So after interest, next test the graphic. So we've tested for interest. We now know Tony Robbins, Think and Grow Rich, Robert Kiyosaki, whoever we put together in the interest groups. And now we're going to test for the best click-through rate with CTR, click-through rate, right here, with a graphic. Then test the printed copy, the actual printed material, the ad copy, for what's catchy and what makes sense. And once you have this all down, you're going to take the best ad copy, the best picture, and you're going to put it with the best audience, and then you're going to run that ad until it fatigues. Ads will fatigue after someone has seen it 10 to 13 times. They'll just go blind to it. They won't see it anymore. You can either write a brand new ad, or you can just change the picture. That'll sometimes give you some additional ad life. Here's some advanced campaign tips. Once you set up a campaign, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute here, not only can you set up the campaign, but you can pause it. So you can click a pause to look at something or adjust something, to decide you want to change your audience. You can do that, but do not complete the campaign and then restart the same one again. The reason you don't want to do that is, let's say you had an audience of 250,000 potential viewers. It's going to be presented to them. And 100,000 of them, as your campaign was running before it ran out, saw that particular ad or had it presented to them. And then you let it expire, let it come to an end, let it complete, and then started the campaign over again, rather than the campaign picking up from where you left off, where that 100,000 had already seen it, and it's going to be presented to the other 150,000 out of the 250. Chances are you're going to go back and have the same 100,000 people be presented it again, or at least have them mixed in. So you aren't going to get as good a return on your investment. Also, Facebook keeps track of your click-through rates. The better your click-through rate, the better the placement they give you. So the more clever you are in strategies of setting up your ad campaigns and getting click-throughs, the better the placement. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. The better you do, the better they help you do. So targeted click-through rates to shoot for. The news feed click-through rates, look at it in two categories. The cold audience, that means people that are not fans of your page, that haven't liked you. Desktop only, not mobile. The center feed, you can look for about a 1% click-through rate. And a cold audience, desktop only, on the right side feed, you're going to get about a 2% click-through. So I guess you get a higher click-through because they present it there more often, but there's arguments over whether or not that traffic is as good. But the audience piece still is in place, which means you want to have an audience of 250 to 500,000. That's if it's a national campaign. And if it's past clients, the click-through rate will be significantly higher, 2-3 times higher than that, sometimes more, if they're already fans. I would run different campaigns for both. I wouldn't mix the two campaigns together. Too hard to mix, to measure what it is that's working. Also, if you're doing local marketing for businesses in a particular zip code or city, then of course the 250 to 500,000 isn't going to be possible. Just get the maximum Q you can get for that local audience, for that niche, for that product or service. So how to get started with newsfeed ads. First, go to your home page. Then over on the left side, over here, there's going to be Ads Manager. Click on that. And then over on the left side again, down a little ways, you're going to find Power Editor. Oh, by the way, you need to use Google Chrome as your browser or it won't work. Power Editor only works with that. Once the Power Editor is open, up at the top of the page, you're going to see Campaigns. Click on that. Then you're going to see another button that says Create Campaign. Click on that. And go ahead and click and create the campaign. I'll show you how to do it in a minute here. Then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to see a button that says Ads. Make sure you've selected this campaign. I usually go over to the left, make sure it's highlighted, and then go up to the top and click Ads. you're not, I'm pretending like this is the page with those things. So if you don't see what it is I'm talking about, you're not crazy. It's not there. And then create an ad. So here's what it looks like. When you click create an ad, you put in an ad name. Here was a pre-launch for a product advertisement that I did for a business partner. And then I like to click to website. There's a drop-down box here where you can select what's going to happen when they respond to the post. And I like to post page link to website eligible for newsfeed. And then if I do the domain name, of course, it's only right column. And I'm going to prefer sticking eligible for newsfeed only whenever possible. And then I'm going to, let's see, here we go. I'm going to pick one of my landing pages, or excuse me, one of my fan pages. I've got one called Innovation Coaching and Mentoring. For this particular ad, I selected that page. And then I am going to do an unpublished post. The reason for doing unpublished posts is since I like to run a lot of tests, I don't want to have 15 copies of the same ads posted at my fan page and have my fans saying, what's going on here? And then have them either unlike me or start hiding my posts so that they don't see them. So with an unpublished post, you're able to create a post that isn't posted on your fan page and have multiple iterations of that so you can test. And then down here is we're going to put in the URL or the address of the landing or squeeze page you want to send them to. And this particular webinar is not going to go into the details of that. I have another webinar where I can go into how to do a squeeze page, how to set that up with an autoresponder for email follow-up, but that's not for this webinar. Okay, once you click on setting up the ad, you're going to have some choices here: links, photos, video, status, and offer. This is going to be for select an image. So our post is going to have an image in it. So I'm going to click here to get that image, and then in here I'm going to put the text. I selected an image of myself for this test. And then down below I'd have Dave McElroy, top entrepreneur, teach you how to double your income in 90 days, or whatever my ad copy would be. Here's a copy of desktop only. You can see down here, newsfeed desktop only. You can do a tracking pixel here. I'm not going to show you that on this one. That'll be for another webinar. Here's the unpublished site, and here's where the URL, the landing page that I'm going to send them to. Now we want to pick our audience. You can save an audience, which would be existing target. I like to stick in the United States, but you might want to refine that down to a city or a zip code depending on your campaign. I like to have people that have money and a credit card. In this particular campaign, I set it up at age 45 to 54. I recommend, depending upon what you're selling, you stick with, I had a product that I was selling and demographics showed us 45 to 54 was where the top money was spent. It was an expensive campaign, so we advertised there. And then down here, we're going to put in our precise interest, and this one was for women only. So for that weight loss example, women only would be a good choice because what we noticed is that they were more interested than men. Here's a campaign selected for women, and I picked Anthony Robbins. This is going to be a campaign about life coaching. So I wanted somebody that was interested in personal development. Well, you can see that this particular campaign of women that like the Anthony Robbins page is a sampling in the United States of 50,000 people. And if you remember, I said that you want your campaigns to be 250 to 500,000. So what you would do to build that up is these are all personal development people. Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn, Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, Bob Proctor, many things, including The Secret. Some of you may have seen that. Napoleon Hill, which of course is Think and Grow Rich, as well as others. And John Maxwell. John Maxwell has a lot of books on leadership with kind of a religious bend to them. All good choices. Now we're going to select cost per click rather than cost per thousand or optimize CPM. Here's what I think is your best buy. And maximum bid. Now what I'm going to do, these are one of the little tricks that I've learned about Facebook. You can see that they suggest bid ranges of 31 to 58 cents. Some people believe that 31 or below 31 is the best place to go, and it will get you a lower cost per click. But I'm interested in two things. I'm not interested just in lower cost per click. I'm also interested in getting a lot of high quality clicks. So when it says bid, that means I'm busy bidding against other people. So I'm going to bid probably 50% or more above the top bid. I'm not going to end up paying that. I'm going to pay more than I would if I bid in the middle, but not appreciably more. I'll probably end up paying 50 cents a click or something like that, 45 or 50. But when I'm up against others, my ad's going to be placed. And remember what I said? Better placement, better click-through. It feeds on itself and Facebook treats you better. Here's the ad. Hasn't been posted yet, so it's pending. Here's some other marketing resources that you may need. Lead Pages. It's a great tool. It's a group of people out of Minneapolis, and they aggregate the most talented people creating squeeze and landing pages to get clients or potential clients to give you their email address, and they rank them from top to poorest performance. They're always updating them. You can subscribe to them on a monthly basis, or you can give them a flat fee for the year in advance and get about a 50% discount. But they have stellar lead capture and landing pages. I recommend them highly. I like GoToWebinar. I like GoToWebinar because it integrates with Lead Pages, and integration is the key. GoToWebinar, you guys are on right now, and it is a wonderful way to both disseminate information out to your fans, people that you want to teach and share things with. They can also be recorded and you can use them in the future. Then Infusionsoft is an email marketing follow-up application, and Infusionsoft and GoToWebinar all integrate with Lead Pages. Makes it very easy to manage your whole business. Jing is an image capture. I mentioned before, you see this little thing up in the corner here? Yeah, that's Jing. So all the images that you saw in this presentation, I captured with Jing and included them in my PowerPoint presentation, which is also what you're watching. There's other types of presentation software. I just happen to know and use PowerPoint. So these are some additional tools you might want to use. I'll have future webinars teaching people how to use these for building their business online. So if you found this valuable and you like this information, I have a suggestion for you. I'd like to recommend a complimentary strategy session. It's absolutely no strings attached. It's going to be a comprehensive one-on-one with me. We're going to discover what you can do to take your business to the next level. There's absolutely no selling, no pressure, no stress. It's a sensible thing for you to do if you'd like to take your business to the next level. So it's real easy to apply for a strategy session. You go to this address here, which is davemaconline.com, one of my websites, strategy-registration-form, and you fill out the form there. You fill out that application. Be very thorough because it helps us know whether you're a good match for us or we for you. We only want to work with people for whom we're ideal, and we're sure you only want to work with people that can get you results. We have very limited spots available, very limited. We can only do 15 spots at this time. So the first 15 qualified applications will receive a scheduling appointment notification from us within 24 hours of receipt of your complete application. So do be thorough, take your time, think it through, because that is going to determine for us who we're going to talk to. And do it quickly. Our spots fill up very, very fast. What you can expect in your session, you'll discover highly pertinent information about your business. There will be no selling taking place at all. Absolutely none. We will know, both you and us, whether or not we are a potential match for working together. And if we are, we'll make some suggestions about what that might look like. But whether we are or whether we aren't, we're going to part as friends, and we're going to both be better off for having met one another. Every opportunity I've ever built in my life has only been possible because of the people I met. And I've met lots of people, some of which were a match, some weren't. Some were a match not today, but later. But you need to meet people. You need to strategize. You need to brainstorm in order to make sense. So if it makes sense, we'll work together. If not, no hard feelings. So whether we're a match or not, you're going to leave with dignity. If we are, we're going to talk about what solutions would be available. So if you want to check me out, Here is my personal page on Facebook. Here's one of my business pages for Make Money Mastermind. It's my online entrepreneurs mastermind group, something like that. I can't remember. I should probably have a shorter name. But here's the short way to get there, Dave Mack 2200. And then to book your strategy session, the form is right here. So copy that down, DAVEMAC online, online/strategy-registration-form. So here's my Make Money Mastermind logo. This is what you're going to see at the Make Money Mastermind Facebook site. And my name is David McElroy with Income Alternatives. I look forward to meeting you. I certainly wish you the best of success. Go ahead, register quickly for one of our strategy sessions. No pressure, but maybe you turn out to be a match. Maybe we'll change your life. So you have a great day. Looking forward to meeting you. To your success. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.